I want to talk about enticing things, you know, especially people that have been enticed. The word entice means what? If you're enticed of something.
You're tempted on
Huh?
it. You're tempted.
Tempted, lured, tempted, persuaded, convinced. All these are words that describe enticement. Let's read Proverbs chapter 1. Chris, how about reading Proverbs 1, 10 through 19? And this Proverbs chapter 1, verses 10 through 19, we'll go back to the 10th verse that we started off with.
All right. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privately for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down to the pit. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. Cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path. For their feet run to evil, and make haste to shed blood. Surely in vain the net is spread in the sight of any bird. And they lay wait for their own blood. They lurk privily for their own lives. So are the ways of everyone that is greedy of gain, which taketh away the life of the owners thereof.
Enticed. Go back to the 10th verse there, and it says, my son. Is this a child of God? My son is referring to, now Solomon wrote this and penned this, and he was trying to tell those to be wise and use the knowledge that God has given them, and be mindful of enticement. And enticement means to attract, arousing, desire, lure, tempt, persuade. All these mean that. And he said, my son, be careful of these things. I did something this past Thursday, that I hadn't done in 25 or so years. I don't even remember. I hadn't been 30. I forget how old I am sometimes. But it's a long, long time ago. And I did something this week that reminded me about what this scripture is teaching about enticement. My son, if sinners entice thee, don't go along with them. You don't consent with them. We went to the fair. I said, I ain't got any business in that fair, and I hadn't been in 20, 25 years or whatever. I got thinking about it. I don't have to go places where they're going to try to persuade and convince and try to lure me in to throw the little basketballs or climb the little Jacob's ladder or try to win a teddy bear. And they try to lure you in. And I told Genesis, I said, I want an exchange club hamburger. And that's where it was, out there at the fairground. So we went in, $5 for senior citizens. Genesis and I, we walked down and seen the cows and so forth. And then I wanted to go out and watch people ride those rides and holler and scream and stuff like that. And I did that. And I enjoyed it. But I didn't have to go along with the other side that was trying to convince me and lure me in to take my money. I asked Brother Philip, I said, you ever tried to win money or things at the fair? Brother Philip, I think he said, it's $78 he spent on a teddy bear when way back under. I think he's got more sense now, more wisdom. But that's how the devil works. He tries to lure you in and convince you things are good. Over and over in Genesis 3 especially, the devil himself was trying to lure them in and did. They consented to what the devil would say. The word consent means to give permission. I know the police department, they have a consent form, and if they stop you and they feel like something is not right in the car, instead of getting the dog out and all these things, they got a consent form, give you permission, and most people will sign it, because even if they're guilty, they'll sign it because they don't want you in their car if they have something they shouldn't. But most people, but you have to write a consent form out. Now, you don't have to, but they present it, and most people do. And that's what he's saying here is, this to the child of God, don't go along with the sinners of what they're doing. Don't consent to what they're doing. So we get enticed into it. So Satan is always trying to lure us and tempt us and go along with it. In Proverbs 16:29, where God says, a violent man entices his neighbor and leadeth him into the way that is not good. Does that happen a lot of times? Absolutely. It's a wicked person. I thought about Asaph. Asaph saw the wickedness. You remember in Psalm 73, Asaph, he said that he saw the wicked prospering in the world. And all day long he'd been trying to do what's right, in other words, paraphrasing it in Psalm 73. But all he could see was the wicked people was doing wrong and making gain out of it. It looked like everything was going good. If I try to do something wrong, I'll get caught quick. I don't know about you, but there's just something about it. And I guess that's good. But these people were doing wrong and never got caught, it seemed like. And everything they touched, it turned to gold to them. But we need to be careful. And the bottom line is, Asaph said, after all, he said, my feet are well nigh slipped. I'm almost about to fall under, go under. Until I went to the sanctuary. What was the sanctuary? The house of God. Until I went to the sanctuary. Then, he says in Psalm 73, then I understood therein. In other words, he could see where, even though it ever looked like they were doing prosperous and all this, and was, at the bottom line is they were judged according to what they done. The Bible says you reap what you sow. You believe that? If you do wrong, you're not going to get good from it. If you do wrong, you're going to be chastened, especially a child of God. The Bible says in Romans 3:19, Revelation 3:19, as many as I love, I rebuke and what? Chasten them. So they get judged and chastened as well as we get judged and chastened every day. So the violent man wants to go the way that is not good. In Proverbs 28:10 it says, whoso causeth the righteous to go astray, that means go away from God and His Word, go astray in the evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit. You believe that? Yes, I do. You do wrong, you're going to get wrong. You're going to be... and we're in 2 Peter. I know there's a lot of scripture I'm trying to read, but 2 Peter chapter 2, if you're taking notes, 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 18, it says, for when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure, that's another word for what? Entice. They allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness, those that were escaped who live in error. So we can be the lust of the flesh. Those are the three beginnings of sin, is in John chapter 2, verses 11 through 15, I believe it is through there. It says, love not the world, nor the things that are in the world, or the love of the Father is not in you. In other words, we're not to be persuaded, lured, and convinced about these things. Enticed. I get enticed quite often. The Bible is full of those that have been enticed by Satan. I'll give you a couple of examples. Well, you give me an example. Some of y'all give me an example. Somebody that has been persuaded or convinced or lured or have a desire to do wrong.
Adam and Eve.
All right, they certainly the number one. Every time you think about somebody doing something wrong and Satan coming in their life, you can't bypass especially Genesis 1, 2, and 3. You can't bypass that. So how else would they, David? They took of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and who convinced them to do different?
Well, God had given them that commandment, and they were abiding by that commandment until the devil came along. And he said, have you considered this?
Yeah, just think about it.
Yeah, just think about this. And he said, yeah, we've considered, but the Lord said we can't eat it. And he said, you're not going to die. It'll make you wise. They saw it was good food to please the eyes and please the flesh and
Everything looked
pride
good,
of
didn't it?
life. All three of those temptations came.
Do we during the week do the same thing as Eve did? Many times. I mean, it's hard to be a Christian, folks. I ain't gonna lie to you. If you think it's easy, try it. And I feel like every one of us are followers of Christ. That's what a Christian is. And it's not an easy path to go down, because that old Satan is right there. He can charm you quick. Now we know that God is the light. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. But who else is the light? The devil. Over in Corinthians it teaches that says, and no marvel, for Satan himself, the devil, and no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into a what? Angel of light. Does he look like the true light? In a lot of ways, yes. He's tricky. He's trying to lure you in with his charming ways. It says, and no marvel, for Satan himself shall be transformed into an angel of light, and his ministers, who's the his? The devil's ministers. And his ministers are as ministers of righteousness. We remember we just read that scripture about a righteous person. The devil tries to work on a righteous person. He don't care about those that he's done God. Is Satan in here now? Absolutely. He's right here. Hello, Satan. I'm right here. But I rebuke you. I will not have any part of you. You're not going to have me consent to your ways. You're not going to lure me in to do wrong today. That's what we got to do. We got to fight off Satan. We're fighting a spiritual warfare. That's what we got. Ephesians 6 teaches about a spiritual warfare. And Satan is there to desire to kill you and destroy you. I use the scripture about every week in John 8:44 that Satan is a liar, a thief, and a murderer. Is he?
Absolutely.
And he's going to try his best to kill you. I mean, those are harsh words, isn't it? But that's the way it is. So the Bible is full of examples, and Brother David give a good example of Adam and Eve. Who else? Anybody else?
Samson.
Who?
Samson.
Samson is a real good one. Real good. Samson was enticed, especially in 2 verses. It says he was enticed, or enticed. He didn't say enticed. The word enticed comes up. Turn to Judges chapter 14 and read me verse 15. You know the story about Samson. He was a strong man, and one of the strongest that's ever been. He killed a lion, and when he went and seen a woman that he wanted to marry, and he come back through, and there was a bunch of bees in that lion that he had killed. And what was in that lion's carcass? Honey. It was full of honey. And he stopped and got the honey and went and didn't even tell his mom and daddy about the honey. He just gave him some honey and tell him where he got it from. He killed a lion. Now, the purpose of that I'm not sure about, but I know he did that. He wouldn't even tell his mama and daddy about that. And they ate it, and then he went on, and his wife enticed him. Christy, how about reading in Judges chapter 14 and verse 15. 15. This is when.
And it came to pass on the 7th day, they said unto Samson's wife, Entice thy husband.
Entice thy who? Husband.
Thy husband.
Okay.
That he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. And
Okay,
he
stop
called
right
us
there.
to okay.
he went and saw his wife, and he was being enticed, lured, persuaded, convinced, have a desire for. And his wife, now this is not Delilah, we ain't got Delilah yet. This is his wife talking about. And she wanted to know what the riddle was. And he wouldn't give it to her. And she moaned and groaned and pity, had self-pity for herself and all these things, but he was enticed. And he finally went over to another place in the 16th chapter. Go to 16th, Judges 16, verses 5. Read verse 5. Now this is when he went to Delilah.
And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her, Entice him, and see where his great strength lie, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we may give them every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver.
Okay, you see this? His wife was to entice him, find out where his strength was and all. And then in the 16th chapter, Delilah, a harlot, was to get him to be enticed to where they could learn. He put a riddle out, told a riddle. I don't know if I can do the riddle or not. He said, talking about that line, he says, out of the eater cometh forth sweets. In other words, that lion was dead, and that's the eater, the lion was, and the honey was the sweets that the bees had made. And he put forth that riddle to the Philistines, and they said, tell us this riddle. He said, for 30 pieces of garment, or 30, I don't remember what he
30
said.
garments and 30 sheets.
He put this out about the garments and the money, or shekel, or silver, or whatever it was, but the bottom line was, he put forth that riddle, a change of clothes, that's what it is. That's what it was, change of clothes. Anyway, he put it forth a riddle, and he talked about how the eater and so forth, they couldn't figure it out. And then eventually his hair was long, and he finally told Delilah, the harlot, about that, what would give him his strength was his hair. Now we know literally the hair ain't going to make you strong, but the hair would represent the Spirit of God going into him and making him strong. He wasn't strong without God. But they finally wound up killing him because he was enticed. His wives and the harlot enticed him in the 14th chapter and the 16th chapter. Okay, so he consented. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, just paraphrasing, running out of time. I got a bunch of them that want to go both ways, some that did and some that didn't. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, in Daniel chapter 3, Janice, how about reading verses 14? And let's think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were thrown into a fiery furnace, and they refused to consent to bow down to and worship. All right, go ahead. Yeah, first chapter, Daniel chapter 3. I may be wrong. 14th verse. That sounds right.
Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if the worship not, ye shall be cast in the same hour into the midst of the burning fire furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands?
Okay, so there again, they would not go along with what the king wanted with it. They refused. They refused to consent. My son, if sinners can entice thee, don't go along with it. Don't go consent with it. These did not consent. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego did not go along with that. They would not consent to it, to the wrongdoing. You give permission to the wrongdoing. Joseph is a good example how that he would not consent to the ways of the world. He forgave his brothers and all that because they're wrongdoing. But his wife, Potiphar's wife, now Joseph was one of the high-ups in the kingdom. And Potiphar's wife tried to allure him or persuade him or convince him to do sex with her. And he refused, did he? He refused. He didn't go along with that. He wasn't getting lured in. And many people today, especially today, have been lured in and gotten divorces over it, lose their children, lose their homes and everything else because they have consented to have sex with somebody else or be married or whatever. Y'all know the picture. So he wouldn't do it. And that's the way we ought to be, just like Joseph. Whenever that sin comes up, my son, if sinners entice you, don't go along with it. Don't consent it. So now those are some that would not consent. Now let's look at some that did. Lot. How did Lot consent or go along with the sinners of the world?
Moved into Sodom and Gomorrah.
Exactly. Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot was a child of God. It's like my son. If the sinners entice you, you're a child of God in that verse. Lot was a child of God, and he was going along out there, and he saw Sodom, and he just pitched his tent towards Sodom. Wasn't that bad? I mean, big deal. I pitched towards the sin. I got just like at the fair. I went close to the wrong place I was supposed to be at, but it wasn't hurting nothing. Now, if I'd have kept watching that and seeing people win a lot of money at the fair, I might have got lured in myself. You know, I could do that. He's winning. Why can't I? But Lot refused to consent to start with, but then he did consent and went toward Sodom and wound up where? In Sodom. Did he pay? Yes, he did. So he's one that did get enticed. David, there again, David. You can't get by without mentioning David seeing a beautiful woman out there. And he consented that Achan stole the garments, stole the silver and the gold. He consented. Solomon was enticed by idols and so forth. So you see how important. Let's close with two scriptures. It's time to close out. But I want to close out one. I think these two scriptures pretty well say what I'm trying to say this morning about being lured or enticed. In James chapter 1, 12 through 15, it says this. This is a good verse, one of the two that I want to use. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation. In other words, don't go on with it. You're blessed. Well, when he is tried and received the crown of life, what's the crown of life?
Kingdom.
The kingdom. Yeah. Receive the crown of life which the Lord has promised them to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted or lured in or enticed, I am tempted of God. For God is not to be tempted with evil, neither tempted any man. But, there's that but. Every man is tempted. We're all sinners every day. We're still sinners, aren't we? But every man is tempted when he's drawn away in his own lust and enticed. See that last word? Enticed. So we can be enticed. Now, let me read you one more closing, and we'll nail this one down. In Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 6 through 9, it says, if my brother, the son of thy mother, or the son of thy daughter, or thy wife, or thy bosom, or thy friend or thy friend, which is thine own soul, entice thee secretly. Do what? Entice thee secretly. Say, let us go and serve other gods. Now, we can do that. Which thou hast not known, nor thy fathers. Namely of the gods of the people which are around you, about you, and nigh to thee, and far off from thee. and from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. Thou shalt not consider him, nor hearken him, neither shall thine eye be pity him, neither shall they spare, neither shall they conceal him, but, there's that but in him, but thou shalt surely kill him, and thou shalt surely kill him, thy hand shall be the first upon them that put him to death, and afterwards the hand of all the people. It's a serious matter if you get enticed by Satan. It could be even death to us. And we will lose the crown of life, the kingdom, now while we live. Anybody got anything you want to say?